Hello and welcome to this series. I'm Tyler Coffin, and throughout these videos we're going to take a look at a virtual instrument that recreates a classic polyphonic synth from the 80s, the Korg Poly 6, seen here in the Korg Collection Poly 6 virtual instrument. This is available on its own or with the Korg collection of their software instruments, and with it you're able to get the sounds of the original Poly 6 in a virtual package. Now, to start with a bit of history, the original Poly 6 was introduced in 1981 by Korg, and was an analog polyphonic synthesizer with 6 voices. In contrast to monophonic analog synthesizers of the time that can only play one note, you can obviously play chords with a polyphonic instrument like the Poly 6. And being polyphonic was a big feature at the time, with it and the Roland Juno 6 in a similar market. The Poly 6 had a little bit higher price tag as well as more features to compete with the higher-end Prophet 5 bisequential circuits. But everything in the Poly 6 came together in a relatively simple architecture that culminated in a warm, organic sound that could be further filled out with the built-in Bucket Brigade chorus, phaser, and ensemble effects. With today's synthesizers obviously being decades ahead in technology, a lot of these features seem fairly standard, yet you just can't argue with the sound of original analog synths, then having them accurately and faithfully emulated within a virtual instrument with all the digital convenience that entails. We have a powerful tool here with even expanded functions and flexibility. Plus, the virtual instrument has a bit of history in itself, with presets like the fat line bass as something of a synthwave mainstay. But obviously that's just one preset in a long list of ones available, plus of course programming your own presets and working with sound design can give you a lot of different options and sonic possibilities in this reinvented classic instrument. Now, to mention a few things before we get going, this is the standalone version of the Poly 6. You can run it as a VST, AU, or AAX plugin in your choice DAW, whatever that may be. Here is FL Studio, for instance, running as a VST. And when running it in a host, your audio and MIDI settings will be handled in there, or however you would work with it in that environment. However, we'll be working mostly in the standalone version here, in which case you'll have to set up your MIDI by going up to the preferences here, selecting the audio device, of course working with whatever hardware that you're running. And then your MIDI devices can be set here, so standard audio sort of settings that you'll want to put together to get your sound running through and the MIDI properly interfacing. But after that, we can set up the screen size, which of course is helpful depending on the size of your monitor and how you're going to work on the Poly 6. We'll keep it in the 130% so that we see all the controls as we work through the sections here, but obviously however you want to display this is nice and simple to get going. So with that, we're ready to jump into the next video where we'll just get a quick look through the interface and the broad layout of everything in the Poly 6. So I will see you then.